Stop. Whatever you're doing right now, stop. What I'm about to say isn't for everyone listening, it's just for you. Something happened to you in this moment, a sudden interruption in the flow of your day. Maybe you don't yet have words to name what you feel, but something inside you shifted, a silent call that brought you exactly to this meeting point. You're not here by chance or out of curiosity. You're here because there's a question no one around you has been able to answer, and now the silence is finally going to be broken. By the end of this message, you'll recognize the 3 specific signs that have been showing up in your life and what they truly mean for your next step. You'll understand the pattern of exhaustion that has been blocking what you've been seeking and how it connects to your story. And before we finish, there's a declaration of identity I'm going to speak directly over your life, a spiritual seal that marks the real reason this revelation has reached you at this moment. Stay with me, because the layer beneath the layer is where truth resides. You've been feeling a strange restlessness that ordinary rest doesn't cure. Sometimes you wake up in the dead of night, right at the hour that marks the end of one cycle and the start of another, as if you're being called to a vigil you don't yet understand. You've noticed that conversations that once mattered now feel hollow, as if you're on a different frequency from the people walking beside you. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at some point in the last few minutes, type the number 333 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to the clarity that's coming. It's the smallest agreement, but it's real. Type 333 and come back here to me. These signs aren't symptoms of a problem. They're confirmations of a calibration. The distance you feel from old places and old conversations isn't isolation. It's alignment. You've been waking at what seem like fixed hours because your spirit is being trained to perceive what the world ignores in its rush. The disinterest in what once moved you is actually the emptying needed for the new to find space. You're being prepared for a change of season, and every detail you've known. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.
Noticed, every coincidence you've marked as strange is just the map being drawn before your eyes. The fatigue you carry isn't a lack of energy. It's the cost of sustaining a structure that no longer holds who you're becoming. But there's a pattern operating here that you need to identify now. You've been operating under a mechanism that, though silent, has been draining your life force. The pattern you carry is the persistent attempt to maintain loyalty in places where the connection has already been severed. You feel exhausted because you're still pulling ropes that no longer attach to anything, like someone insisting on hoisting sails on a ship anchored in the harbor of a time that's past. This exhaustion isn't due to laziness or lack of will, but the weight of sustaining an audience that was never paying attention. You've grown accustomed to being the provider, the pillar, the voice that holds the environment together, mistaking this sacrifice for your identity when in truth it's just a gear keeping you locked to the past. You feel that if you let go of the rope, everything will collapse. But what you haven't yet realized is that what needs to collapse no longer belongs to you. Picture now an ancestral tree in soil that over decades has become arid and barren. The roots of that tree, out of pure survival instinct, dug deep in search of moisture but found only rock and dryness. That's exactly how you feel. You've been striving, searching, digging in directions that once brought life, but now only meet resistance. Yet this pain, this tightness in your chest, isn't a sign of the end. It's the sign that the root needs to bend to find new soil, soil that was always just below, but you couldn't access while stuck in the shallowness of the old ground. Your pain is the preparation for the transplant. You're not dying, you're being moved to deeper soil, where water is abundant and the earth is fertile, a place where you won't have to struggle to absorb life, because it will be available in every fiber of your being. If the image of this root-seeking new soil makes sense to you, if you understand that this movement of seeking isn't a punishment, but the recognition that something greater is being prepared, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let the act of writing those words become your commitment to this new season. As you type, you're not just leaving a trace. You're sealing your acknowledgement that the excavation was necessary, but the time to find water has come. Type, and come back here to me. The solution to your anguish isn't in doing more, nor in trying to fix what's broken with the strength of your own arm. The true answer is unlearning. It's the act of releasing the rope you're holding so tightly and allowing your spirit to float in the direction of the current the heavens have already prepared. You need to learn to receive. Grace isn't something built with sweat. It's something welcomed with an open heart. When you stop trying to control the outcome of your actions and simply allow life to happen through you, the exhaustion disappears, replaced by a serene clarity. It's not about accomplishing tasks. It's about aligning your frequency with what has already been, silently, decreed for your path. Your only responsibility now is to keep your heart in a state of reception, unlearning the need to be the architect of everything around you, and accepting that you are the vessel of a provision already in motion. Take a deep breath with me now, and let the silence fill the space between your thoughts. If this message touched exactly where you needed confirmation, if you feel that what was said here isn't a suggestion but a recognition, let your like be your amen without words. It's not about numbers or visibility. It's about agreeing with what your spirit has already recognized as absolute truth. This gesture of agreement is like an invisible seal you place over what we've just aligned, confirming that you're no longer operating alone, but in tune with the voice that guides your path. Sit with that for a moment and feel the lightness that arises when you stop fighting against what's being revealed. But as you process this surrender, stay with me, because the deepest layer is entering now. There's a hidden truth about the change of season you're living through right now. Many call it a crisis, but what you're crossing is actually a reconfiguration of your very essence to bear the weight of what's coming. What seemed like the end of a cycle is just the preparation of new soil, and the reason you're feeling this urgency, this call to stop everything you're doing, is because the time of harvest has been brought forward by what moves in the invisible. In this process of recognition, someone came to your mind. That person's face appeared just now, clear, as if standing before you. Maybe it's someone who strives more than everyone around them, and yet feels the door never opens. Someone carrying a deep fatigue, that silence of having no one to share the load with, or perhaps someone sustaining a posture of strength while inwardly undergoing a slow disintegration. Send this message to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, a notice that they haven't been forgotten. Just as this revelation reached you, it needs to reach whoever is waiting for a word that names their own pain. Before we reach the close of this experience, there's a step that consolidates everything that's been spoken. Type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Don't do this as a wish or uncertain hope, but as a solemn confirmation. The agreement silently forming between heaven and your hearing is a covenant you'll live by for the rest of this season. Type slowly, with full awareness of each letter, and let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing on a much deeper plane. This recognition is the seal you place over your own identity, reaffirming that despite everything you've carried in solitude, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Stop now. Whatever you're doing, stop. What I'm about to say isn't for everyone listening. It's specifically for you, who has felt the weight of a call you still can't translate. Something happened to you in this moment, a subtle but absolute shift, as if the gear of your destiny finally clicked into the right place. You carry a question no one around you has been able to answer, a restlessness that pursues you, and now you're going to hear the answer. By the end of this conversation, you'll recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and understand what they truly mean for your journey. You'll grasp the unique pattern that has been blocking what you seek and why. Until now, your effort seemed to spin in vain. And before we finish, there's a declaration I'm going to speak directly over your life, and I believe it's the real reason this message reached you today. You've been noticing things, haven't you? Those sudden waves of emotion that arise for no apparent reason while you're washing dishes or walking to the car. Conversations that once felt natural now seem hollow, echoing a disconnect no one else perceives. You've been waking exactly at 3 in the morning or at repeating hours, feeling that the silence around you is actually an invitation. Certain numbers, certain repetitions have been appearing in unrelated places, as if the universe is trying to send you a coded warning. It's the smallest agreement, but it's real. This fatigue you feel isn't a lack of energy, it's calibration. The distance you've felt from certain friends isn't loneliness, it's alignment. You've been operating from a pattern of exhaustion, believing that loyalty means carrying the world on your shoulders, when in truth you were just pulling ropes that no longer attach to anything. You performed for an audience that was never paying attention, spending a devotion that should have been reserved for your own fertile soil. Picture now a tree whose roots, instead of spreading across the surface, plunge deep into soil no one else can touch. Beneath the pattern you live, there's an ancient formation, a frequency that was suppressed long ago when you were still a child and had to silence your own voice to fit into the adult world. You became a master at surviving, but life didn't call you to survival. It called you to harvest. If something inside you just sealed itself, if the image of this root-seeking water in deep soil landed in a place you can't explain, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it just landed. The act of typing these words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type, and come back here to me. The solution isn't in doing more, studying more, or fighting harder. The solution is in a return. It's an unlearning of exhaustive effort and a softening before the grace that was always there, available. But you couldn't see because you were too busy holding things together. The stewardship of your life requires you to simply let go. Let your like be your amen without words. Not as a metric, but as a silent agreement that what was named here was named correctly. There's someone in your life who needs this exact message right now. Someone you know who has been striving more than everyone around them and sees the door still closed. Someone who walks quietly in a way no one around can explain. That person's face just appeared in your mind as I spoke, didn't it? Send this to them. Stop. Something happened in this moment, a subtle movement, an interruption in your routine that brought you here. Maybe you don't yet have the exact words to describe it, but something inside you moved, and I came to tell you exactly what it was. You've been striving much more than the people walking beside you, and yet the door you seek still seems locked. There's a clear reason for this. By the end, you'll recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and understand what they truly mean. You'll identify the single pattern that has been blocking your progress. And before we finish, There's a declaration I'll make about your life that is the true reason this message reached you in this instant. It's the smallest agreement, but it's real. Type 333 and come back here to me. You've been noticing certain things that seem too small to be coincidences. You wake at the same hour of the night, exactly 1833, or maybe you notice numbers repeating in sequence whenever you need direction. Conversations that once felt natural now sound hollow, as if your spirit is tuned to a frequency the people around you haven't yet reached. This fatigue you feel isn't a lack of physical energy, it's a calibration. The distance you've started placing between yourself and old habits isn't isolation, it's alignment. The hour you wake, this constant invitation, isn't an interruption of your sleep. It's an invitation to enter a state of vigilance the outside world doesn't know. But there's something deeper here. You keep pulling ropes that no longer attach to anything, trying to move gears that are no longer part of your purpose. You've been performing for an audience that was never paying attention to who you really are, only to the role you play. That hurts, not because you failed, but because you're trying to serve a table that is no longer yours. Picture now a tree whose roots, tired of seeking nutrients in exhausted soil, begin to pierce rock in search of a water source no one knew existed. You are that tree. The pain you felt, the sense that the soil was dry, was only the necessary process for your roots to go deeper than anyone else would dare. The storm you faced wasn't meant to knock you down. It was meant to remove the debris, blocking your growth. If the image of these roots reaching deep water made sense to you, if it landed in a place in your being you can't explain, type the words, "I am ready" in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it just landed. Type and come back here to me. The solution you seek isn't in another task, another effort, or another sacrifice. The solution is the return. It's the unlearning of the need to constantly prove yourself. It's the softening of a heart that hardened out of survival necessity. You don't need to build this new path. You only need to allow it to reveal itself before your feet. What was done to you in the past, the frequencies that tried to suppress you, the inner child put to sleep prematurely, all of it is part of a story that doesn't define your destiny, only the depth of your current maturity. Grace isn't something you earn, it's something you receive when you finally let go of the ropes that lead nowhere. What you feel now isn't a coincidence. It's the convergence of threads you believed were lost along the way. You spent so long looking at what didn't work that your eyes got used to the dimness. But the truth is that every door closing was actually a protection against paths that wouldn't hold your essence. When you realize that your restlessness isn't a wrong turn, but an internal compass adjusting the route, panic gives way to a strange, almost sacred stillness. You tried to fill the void with occupations, with goals, with people who barely knew the weight of your soul. But none of those pieces fit because they were never made for the place you occupy today. The fatigue you carry, that weight on your shoulders that doesn't leave even after rest, is the clear sign that you're carrying burdens that no longer belong to you. Let go of the ropes, not because you gave up, but because the vessel has finally reached the right shore. There's no need for haste, for what is yours has already been prepared and doesn't depend on your anxiety to exist. With every breath, you distance yourself a little more from that version of yourself that needed to explain itself to the world, and draw closer to that inner voice you've finally learned to hear without the noise of fear. The reality you inhabit now isn't a final destination, but a starting point where effort gives way to permission, and where your only obligation is to stay attentive to the subtle signs that are now becoming evident, like a whisper turning into absolute clarity in the silence of your spirit. Stop right now. Whatever you're doing, interrupt any external movement, because what I'm about to say isn't for everyone listening. It's a direct revelation for your life in this instant. Something happened to you in this moment, an internal movement you felt but haven't yet found the right words to name. Today, you'll understand why every door closed and why every night was marked by this silent waiting. By the end, you'll recognize the signs that have been repeating like an invisible code. You'll understand the single pattern that blocked your journey until now, and above all, you'll receive the confirmation of your identity that will change how you see your future. It's the smallest possible agreement, but it's a real seal. You've noticed the clock marking precise hours. You've felt that conversations that were once enjoyable now sound hollow, as if you're speaking a language no one else speaks. This restlessness you feel isn't a flaw, it's a calibration. Your soul is being adjusted to a frequency that the old noises can no longer reach. You've been operating under the illusion that loyalty equals exhaustion, believing that to deserve your place, you need to pull ropes that no longer attach to anything. You strived for an audience that was never paying attention, but the deep truth is that you're like a tree whose root was forced to grow in arid soil, and now you're finding deep waters no one else sees. Let this recognition firm what just landed in your interior. The act of typing makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back here to me. The solution isn't more effort. The solution is the return to a state of reception. Stop trying to build what has already been provided. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a metric but as a deep agreement that what was named here is the truth. But there's something almost no one understands about the exact moment your season changed. You're not just going through a hard phase. You're being transferred from a system of effort to a system of provision. Someone who has been striving more than everyone around them and sees all doors closing. Someone who walks quietly in a way no one around can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke. Send this to that person now. Before all of this comes to an end, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Don't do this as a wish or a hope, but as a confirmation that the agreement silently forming between heaven and your hearing is a covenant you'll live by for the rest of this new season. Type slowly. Allow your fingers to do what your spirit is already consolidating. You are committed, you are sent, you are being led. Right now, all over the world, others are receiving this same recognition and awakening to the same silent truth. You are part of something that doesn't announce itself with noise, and that's exactly why it's real. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.